Knowing that I was going to meet with the rabbi and face extreme scrutiny and a whole host of questions, I decided I really needed to do further study and really be able to prove to him and to myself that there was grounds for believing Yeshua was the promised Messiah of the Jewish people based upon the Hebrew Bible. So I went out and I got a Jewish publication, Society Tanakh, Hebrew Bible. I got a list of all the messianic promises and prophecies in the Hebrew scriptures, and I went through them one by one, read them, studied them to the best of my ability, highlighted them in preparation to meet with the rabbi. Finally, the day for my meeting with the rabbi came. I walked in there armed with my Jewish Bible and a list of promises in the Hebrew scriptures. And the rabbi asked me what had happened. I told him the story, and then he asked me how I could come to believe this. I opened up my Bible and I began to read through the passages that had so impacted my life. Isaiah 53 was one of them. He explained from his perspective how each one of them could not have pointed to or been fulfilled in the coming of Yeshua. Then I took him to Daniel chapter 9, and I said, listen, Daniel chapter 9 talks about when the Messiah was going to actually come. According to Daniel, 77s are decreed for your people and your holy city to finish transgression, to put an end to sin, to atone for wickedness, to bring an everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. No one understand this, from the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the Messiah, the ruler, comes, there will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. It will be rebuilt with streets and a trench, and in times of trouble, after 62 sevens, the anointed one will be cut off and will have nothing. The people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end will come like a flood. I said to the rabbi, if you look from the time the decree was given to rebuild the temple, and you count it to the day, it comes to the time when Yeshua walked the earth, gave his life, and shortly thereafter, there was a destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. I said he was the one who fulfilled this passage. My rabbi did not know how to answer that question, and he said he would research it and get back to me. He was a man of his word, he did, and I was not happy with his response. It basically said that Daniel was an apocalyptic book, and apocalyptic literature is very difficult to understand, and there's a lot of metaphors, and we can't fully understand it. And basically, our sages tell us that we shouldn't calculate the time mentioned in Daniel, and that basically the person who calculates it brings a curse upon himself. Basically, my opinion was he really didn't have a good answer to what was written. So after sharing with the rabbi all the passages from the Hebrew Bible, I was even more convinced that there was solid biblical support to prove that Yeshua was truly the Messiah of Israel. My mom was not happy with the way the meeting went with the rabbi. She thought I would come out probably convinced that I had made a silly decision. After preparing to meet with the rabbi, I really knew I needed to get more education, more training, and it really whetted my appetite and gave me a greater hunger and a desire to study more about Yeshua and more about Messianic Judaism. I had a great dilemma. Where was I going to go to learn more? Traditional Jewish schools were not going to teach me about Yeshua or the Brit Chadashah, the New Testament. And from everything that I knew, I thought Christians were anti-Semitic, so there was really no possibility of going to a believing school. They would never understand or support me living as a Jew or have any understanding of the Bible through Jewish eyes or the importance of supporting Israel. As I was talking to my friend John about this dilemma, I noticed that he had a stack of catalogs from different Bible colleges and seminaries. And as I was thumbing through them, I noticed that one particular school had a Messianic Jewish Studies program. And I said to myself, they can't hate Jews or be antagonistic to Messianic Jews if they have this program. So I figured I would look further into what it is that they had to offer. When I saw the class offerings and that the professor was actually a Messianic Jewish leader himself, I thought I would go there, take a couple classes during the summer, and see if I was comfortable. So I went to summer school. After being a follower of Yeshua 4 months, I was so warmly embraced. The professors and the students really believed that there was an important future for Israel, and I was encouraged to continue to live as a Jew. I realized that this was a place that I wanted to go and study more. So I went to Bible college there for 3 years, graduated with a degree in Messianic Jewish Studies. And during that time, I really began to realize that if Jesus was the Messiah of Israel, he came to make better Jews and not worse. All of the prophets foretold that the Messiah would bring the Jewish people back to covenantal faithfulness. He would strengthen their commitment to Jewish life. He would strengthen their calling to the people of Israel. And as my mom saw that as a result of my Messianic faith, my Jewish identity wasn't decreased, but it actually increased tremendously. I realized that everything that I had done as a child growing up had great spiritual significance, and in many ways brought me into a deeper connection, understanding of who the Messiah was and what he came to do. I wound up entering into a Messianic Jewish Studies program. From there, eventually found myself called to California, which is where my wife and I live with our 2 sons, Avi and Judah. After being in California for about 9 months, I was invited by a local pastor to attend a conference on healing. While I was sitting in the conference seminar, God really began to speak to me.